So the only thing that is really certain in these times is uncertainty. What it means for your business, what it means for your job. Let's talk about this now. Hi, I'm Oliver and welcome back to the channel Ask Me Startup, where we talk about startups, small businesses, and the world that surrounds them. So today's topic, uncertainty. Why is it certain that we're going to have uncertainty even now, even more in the future? All of us have been through that crazy time right now, the pandemic. We're still in the middle of it and things are, let's say, screwed up a little bit, right? We have lockdowns, we have a lot of restrictions, people are not traveling. It is not the world that we used to know. And we can think of it, well, it's like, the exception from the exception. Really? Let's take a deeper look into data. And then we can see on the World Uncertainty Index that actually, since the year 2008, right at the financial crisis, we have seen an above average level of uncertainty. Now, how do these people measure the uncertainty level? Well, they take reports from governments and from businesses, and they count the number of times the word uncertainty is, mentioned, and then multiply it by a certain factor. Nonetheless, what it actually tells you is that yes, we have seen an increase in uncertainty, and yes, we have seen a peak of uncertainty with the coronavirus currently. Nonetheless, we have been in an uncertain area since the last 10 years plus. That means on the other side, it's quite obvious why people are struggling with jobs, why businesses are struggling, because times and businesses are shifting, and it's almost impossible to keep up with the pace that the uncertainty is forcing us to readapt all the time. What does that actually tell you? What can you do about it? What can you do in order to maintain your job, in order to build a better business in the future? The first thing you need to do is to understand where uncertainty is coming from. And if you look at the World Uncertainty Index again, you can see that a war will have, of course, some level of uncertainty. It will add uncertainty to the world. But it's not as critical as, for instance, fiscal problems, the debt crisis that we've seen. It is not as bad as politics. China, USA, for instance, Brexit, they have increased uncertainty levels dramatically. And of course, everything peaked with a pandemic, which was to be expected, right? Because a pandemic that is really, really impacting the whole world will have a higher level of uncertainty. Now, is that good or bad for you as a business? Well, on the first step, it is bad because things are shifting and all the time in such a pace that it's hard to keep up. If you're not reinventing yourself all the time, it's going to be difficult. And that's why many people have lost their jobs. That's why they're only, let's say, underpaid, low-value jobs that are abundant, but not those high-paying jobs anymore. Furthermore, businesses are having issues. Why? Because they can't adapt to the, constant pace of change. But what can you do? What can a business do, a startup do to adapt to the change? Let's talk about Number one, they can seek opportunities for bigger growth in the future. Giving up something good for something better is always a challenge, specifically if things are running normal. But in times of uncertainty, when you're not sure whether your business will be, around for the next 2 years, adapting for or striving for a new, better project or product in the future or service is the road to go. That will imply that you have to let go of the things you already know and build up something better. As an example, we could use AstraZeneca, which were trying to get into the Chinese pharmaceutical market but failed. Then they started developing technologies for pharmaceutical research in combination with the Chinese government, and boom, by that their sales doubled in every following years. That is an example of when you want to give up something good for something better in the future. The next thing you should consider when in times of uncertainty is improving the decision-making and strategic planning process. Today, we have an abundance of data, but we need to make sense of them. Many people say AI is the future. Well, that could be true if you're looking at the right data. That is the big challenge, and that is what you should now try to understand, which part of your data set that you're collecting, and it can be any data set, I'm not talking about specifics here. You need to understand and focus on those metrics that really mean something for you, your business, and the customers. Otherwise, you will just bet on the wrong horse, and then it's too late. The next big thing you should really do is improving your return of investment. Now, let's take the current situation. We're in a pandemic. We can't move forward. We can't move backwards. Especially tourism industry has been hit hard. Restaurants have been hit hard. What should they do? Well, let's assume that they are able to survive currently, that they will manage with their cash flow to pay off rents and all the other fixed costs that they have. They should now go over their expenses and figure out where they could actually optimize in the future. Because if you have a normal business, normally what's happening is you have no time to dig deep into these expenses and figure out how to improve them over time. Because the only thing that will keep you afloat in the future is optimizing constantly. Every time, every year, every second, you need to optimize your revenue. You need to optimize your returns. And that is one way by looking at your expenses and figuring out which ones you need, which ones you don't need, which ones you can actually do better. Think of people in the other way around. Just look at personal expenses of people right now. 50% are thinking or rethinking their business and travel habits. They're thinking, do I really need to take that business trip? Do I really need to do that vacation here? Do I really need to go to a restaurant every day of the week? Maybe twice a week is enough. You should do the same considerations for you in your business. Do you really need that Netflix? Do you really need that newspaper all the time in your restaurant or bar? Do you really need that pool, that animation, that dance group to serve your tourists that are coming in the future? Do not stop on any holy grail. Just go through, dig deep, and try new ways, and you will see that you will survive in the future. All right, everybody, I hope that was helpful. I know this is a crazy time, and I know that everybody's dealing with these hard levels of uncertainty right now. If you got a comment, just drop it down below. Tell us what is your biggest problem with uncertainty. And I'm looking forward to you next time.